Hi, I'm Richie Mackay.
And I'm Davey Bolt, and you are listening to the Wrong Bias podcast.
And on this week's show, we are going to be talking to Jamie Chestney. He's going to be discussing his new role with Bowls England, the addition to the family, and just some general Bowls chat. Jamie will also be going through our 7-Up questions. Due to the current circumstances, obviously we're a little bit limited with regards to being able to provide you any results, so Richie's roundup may be very short, if nothing at all. Talking about the old second man position and what the roles and responsibilities are, following on from our lead position from the last show. And we'll also be just doing a questionnaire that's been bouncing around on social media recently. The two of us are going to have a little bit of a bash at that week. And we also have our usual competition sponsored by Alex Marshall Sports. So the main thing is we hope everybody's staying safe and we hope you enjoy this show. A little bit shorter than usual, but we hope you still enjoy it.
Well, mate, here we are again, number 12, another different show.
Different indeed, yeah.
Yeah, just for any listeners, we've got Davey on a satellite link from Silksworth, so you'll have to bear with us if there's any time delay between us.
I like to think of us as being the Ant and Dec Saturday night takeaway because they both did theirs from home last night as well. So if it's good enough for Ant and Dec, it's good enough for us too.
Yes, and let's just hope that we hopefully have an audience and not without an audience.
Yes.
Anyway, mate, one thing that's been keeping us entertained, or especially on Facebook, with these bowls videos that's doing the rounds, where they bowl through obstacles and to hit the jack. I don't know whether you've seen the one where the lad bowls it up the paved driveway and it comes back down the paved driveway. Can you imagine being his mate, getting the phone call earlier on in the week saying, "Can I borrow your balls?" "Oh, I need problem," and then seeing them coming down the cobbles.
Yeah, I must admit that was my first thought when I saw it. I went, "Oh my word, the scratches on them balls has got to be unbelievable."
I mean, you'll hear this sound of Thomas Taylor's ka-ching.
Yeah, without a doubt, yeah. It was definitely the first thought that went through my mind. I was like, "Oh my word, they are going to be scratched to bits." But I've got to say, it's been great to see some of the videos on. They've been coming from across the pond as well. There's been a few on from Australia. There's been a few on from over in the UK, and it just keeps balls in the spotlight. It just, there's obviously people can't get out there and play, but I don't think any promotion is bad promotion in a lot of respects. Yeah. So yeah, it's been really good.
I don't know. Did you see the one with the lad from Reading, where it was probably the first one that went on, where he went through the toilet roll, missed the bottle of booze under the chairs and trailed the jack against the radiator?
Was it going across some wood flooring?
It was,
underneath the chair?
Yeah.
It was a good one. Was that, I might be wrong here, was it BJ Biles?
That's the one. That's the one.
All right. Yeah, it was a good one, that one. It missed some of the chair legs and that by millimetres as well, didn't it? So
how many times do you think he tried? How many times do you think he got that?
That was first time, obviously.
First time. God. Would he be more panicking at hitting the toilet roll or the booze?
Take 643.
Oh no. God, that bloody chair leg. Move that chair leg again. Get out of your way, woman.
Plus, I bet there's a few damaged sideboards over the next 2 or 3 months, that's for certain. And something else that seems to have been also quite prominent on Facebook, and I think it's because we're all stuck in the house, but there's quite a number of lads who I've seen, a few of my mates, who are all shaving their hair off because they're thinking, well, by the time we get back out into civilization and get our hair cut, we're going to look like Shaggy. So I think they've gone for the brave and the shave. So Mr. Farquhar, my best pal, was on last night, and he's taken his off right down to the bone. And he looks currently like George Dawes. We were asking him last night where his drums were. So it took a little bit of a build-up for me, but I've taken mine off and I look like a monk. Because I didn't realise how thin I was going across the centre of my head. So
was there nothing coming down, mate, when she was doing that bit?
Oh, shit, to be honest with you, when Leanne walked in and saw us with my hair shaved, she wasn't a happy bunny, but by the by, it saves us going to the hairdressers. But it had a little bit of a thought, obviously, in these times fans. I know money's potentially short for a lot of people, but I just thought it would be great that if anybody is thinking about doing that sort of thing, then why not try and put it to a good use? And I'm going to get somebody to donate £5 for mine, having mine shaved off. I'll put my picture on later on, which everybody can have a laugh at. I'll put Mr. Farquhar's picture on. And I just thought, if you are going to shave your head, then potentially see if we can get 5 people or one person to donate a fiver and donate it to your local food bank or to the NHS, or, somebody who is really, really, helping us through this awful time. So I just thought it might be something that we can do just to help the situation. So I've done my bit, mate. I don't know about yours. I don't know if yours is going to come off, but you'll love Farquhar's picture. He looks about 5-year-old, mate.
I look forward to it.
There's 2 men I'm going to have to definitely have a mention to, because they seem to be bigging it up and egging us on to do it. But Mr. James Sneller and Mr. Josh Minto, come on, get the shears out and get that hair shaved off. He's a wrong talk, but when it comes to actually doing it, there's nothing there.
And now we catch up with Jamie Chestney.
Jamie, can you hear me all right?
Yeah, I can hear you. Yeah, there's a little bit of a delay, but I can hear you.
No problem at all, mate. Obviously, it's a little bit trickier than usual because we're doing it via phones rather than the normal 2 of us sitting in a room. Thanks very much for coming onto the podcast. Much appreciated.
No problem at all.
How's things in the current circumstances? How you managing through the old isolation period?
Yeah, I mean, basically, doing what we're told, staying indoors. Obviously, we've got a 4-month-old to keep us entertained at the moment. So, we're the days are certainly not sort of dragging, so that's for sure. But
good stuff.
We've got to do what we've got to do, haven't we? So there's millions of medical experts on here now, so I won't go into all of that. But you've just got to do as we're told and hopefully get through it as quick as we can.
It might just make people realise that there's more to life than the things that we just expect and take for granted, I suppose.
Yeah, it's going to be different once it's all over, I think. So yeah, I mean the actual sort of mental and physical sort of side of it, I think people are going to appreciate a lot more being out in the sun in the summer, and hopefully it'll encourage more people to sort of like you said, appreciate what we've got and start playing more.
Exactly. This is what I've spoken to the clubs I'm currently working with at the moment. I've spoken to them and says, in a perverse kind of way, we've got to use this situation, which I would hope could potentially benefit the sport, because like you've just said there's going to be a lot of people who've been sitting in the house for a long period of time. Now is the time to promote these outdoor activity sports, or even indoor, whatever the situation may be, and hopefully we'll get a lot more people maybe just having a thought about coming along and trying the sport for a change.
Yeah, exactly. My thought at the moment is trying to encourage clubs to sort of perhaps plan for their 2-month season this year. Fingers crossed we might be able to get out in July, August time. Obviously don't know until nearer the time if that is going to be a reality or not, but just encourage the clubs to start planning for a couple of months and what they could start sort of putting in place now, whether it's sort of contacting all of their local clubs to start sorting out local friendlies or leagues, but also sort of starting to build those media links with the local sort of stations and trying to get their open day advertised if and when we get out there. So I think the really important thing is going to be to make anybody new to the sport this summer, the experience sort of really positive and get them back out sort of on the green in 2021.
Yeah, definitely. So that sort of leads on quite nicely to you've obviously just taken up the new role within Bowls England, Jamie. You did previously work for the Bowls Development Alliance, and recently within about 2 months you've been in that post now at Bowls England. Jamie, do you want to just expand on what the post is and what your expectations are over the next 12 months?
Yeah, so got contacted by Gallagher in December. I think Bowls England had sort of planned to start a membership register for the last sort of 2 or 3 years. It had been discussed quite a lot within regional meetings and county meetings, and it was something that they were seeing that a need was there for it. So I think my role was introduced from February this year to really start sort of trying to implement that. I obviously had a look at sort of what the role entailed to start with, and sort of really I was looking at it from my point of view as a player, and what it's all about and what the benefits are. And I think for me it's just the fact that for years we've all played in clubs that have seen decrease in membership. We've all bemoaned the fact that we don't seem to get any of the commercial or government funding that's available put into the grassroots of the sport, and we're all sort of guilty of doing that. So the idea of the membership register is at this stage to obviously give us a clearer picture about sort of who is playing the sport, and that would give us a lot more sort of clarity when it comes to applying for sort of future funding and support, whether that's from Sport England or whether it's sort of sponsorship, etc. So the actual software that we're using is a system called Go Membership. It's actually used by about over 50 national governing bodies sort of worldwide. Both Scotland use it, Badminton England, and then people from the States, Australia, etc., all use this software to manage their membership. My role at the moment is just the sort of initial part is trying to get the sort of base of our membership onto there. So at this stage we've just asked clubs to return their membership to Bowls England, and then part of my role will be sort of getting that onto the system. We'll do the initial upload of all the member information, then it'll be a case of the sort of club administrators being able to get onto the Go membership system and manage their clubs from there. But I also think it'll be really useful for them from a local perspective. It'll give them a bit more information about exactly sort of who is playing at the club. They could maybe start asking a bit more questions about why they play at the club, and sort of really starting to sort of focus on the facilities and the services that they offer, and possibly sort of make some adjustments and improvements on them in the future.
It's a great idea, and I think it's a much needed facility and a much needed tool. Hopefully every club jumps on board with that and provides the information that you need, and it will give some solid figures as to what the actual playing membership of the country is for the sport as well. I'm presuming that's something that's quite important for Bowls England.
It is, yeah. So we would obviously be able to sort of run reports of the Go membership system. Nobody's personal details would be on there. It would just be a case of the actual demographics of who are playing. So how many male players, how many female players, sort of where the players are based, looking at disability side of it as well. Are the clubs providing the right facilities for the people that are actually playing the game in England? So it's got all of those benefits as well. And a few people sort of say, well, what are the benefits to us getting any sort of further Sport England funding? Well, if we do get any sort of government funding in the future, the likelihood is it's going to be at a grassroots level. So whether that's being able to get more support for the clubs in terms of workforce or direct funding, it is a long-term benefit. So, I mean, like I said, we're right at the very start of it at the moment, and hopefully sort of in the long term we can start to sort of really get the support that we see other sports get. So this system's very similar to, I had a look at England Golf. They've got a very similar system. So if you go onto their membership register, it actually just asks you which club you're affiliated to, and then you'd be able to log into the system from there. So hopefully in the future it'll have a lot of benefits for us as a national governing body, but also for clubs and members and county associations as well.
I would hope that every club obviously buys into what you're doing, making sure they provide the correct information, and hopefully the work that you're doing will certainly enhance the future of the sport and do a lot more for clubs within Bowls England.
Yeah, that's what we hope. Obviously sort of my role was brought in February time, so my sort of plans for March and April and May was really to sort of try and get out to all the clubs and county meetings and sort of explain exactly what it's all about and sort of present the actual membership register. So the plans there have changed a little bit, but we're all working remotely at the moment, but we're still sort of pressing ahead and speaking to sort of clubs and counties regularly on the phone and responding to questions via email, and the response has been sort of generally positive. So fingers crossed.
Jamie, have you braced yourself for? There's a lot of club secretaries out there who's obviously been, shall we say, doing the job quite a while. Have you braced yourself for the negative reaction that you might get to not wanting change?
Well, I mean, I think it is just a case of showing sort of what the system can bring. So in terms of the data protection side, I won't go too far into it, but having one nationally based system is obviously going to be sort of probably far more secure than having 2,000 different operating systems around the country, in terms of different clubs might still use sort of paper trails or notice boards or obviously personal laptops, iPads, etc. So in terms of the club's actual practicality of it, I think it may also provide them with an easier handover in case there is a change in administration for some reason, which may may not have been foreseen.
Yeah.
It'll just be a case of that club then logging into the membership register, and they'd have their full membership details there. So yeah, hopefully it has a few other benefits, but I think it's just trying to push all of the obviously positive and beneficial sides to it.
The important part is the buy-in from everybody. It's you can graft and do all of the work that you need to do, but it can only be made easier by everybody buying into what it is and what the benefits are going to be. So I really hope anybody who is listening, and maybe our secretaries are involved within the committees, you understand that this is for the good of the sport and their own clubs as well. So fingers crossed for that one.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I mean, the other thing I'd just say probably is fully appreciate that the majority of the sort of workforce in the sport is volunteer-based, and this is sort of potentially adding a bit of extra workload to them. But yeah, I can sort of promise that the long-term plan is to try and reduce it for them and make things as easy as possible in the future. So yeah, possibly sort of long-term gains, we hope.
Definitely. Great stuff. Well, we'll leave the administration stuff to one side for now, then, Jamie, and we'll move on to the great news that you've obviously just been talking about earlier on. 4 months ago, there's been an addition to the Chestney family, yourself and Natalie. Do you want to give everybody a few details about that who maybe don't know the situation, and how's this going to change the dynamics with yourself and Natalie, who are obviously two international bowlers heavily involved within the sport? Has it made you have a little bit of a different outlook on life?
Yeah, definitely. It was in December the 2nd, Eliza was born. So obviously we'd been thinking about what it was going to sort of mean to us, and we'd both had planned to play in sort of some degree this season, probably reducing what we were going to play by quite a bit. I haven't myself played a huge amount outdoors over the last few years, so yeah, we were really just going to sort of see how it went and then sort of make plans from there. So obviously it does just changes absolutely everything. Your number one priority in life is just sort of in this household now, and everything sort of tailored to what's going to be best for her. So we haven't made any sort of long-term plans in what we want to do. I think it's just going to be a case of see how it goes, and obviously keep playing as and when we can, but just see what happens over the course of the next sort of few months and years, and just adjust it to that. So neither of us, we've both had sort of breaks from playing in the past, and issue with doing sort of that as well. So
I think it's worked quite well for you in the past, hasn't it, Jamie? Because I wouldn't be wrong in saying that Natalie's probably got a preference for outdoors and you've got a preference for indoors, so it's worked well where you could potentially work that between the two of you.
Possibly, yeah. I mean, Nat hasn't played indoors. I mean, she had 1 year indoors before the Commonwealth last time, but apart from that, she's not played indoors for about 10 years or so, and hasn't got any interest in it either. So yeah, during the winter time it sort of frees me up to play, but again, I probably don't play a huge amount. I've got probably got quite a lot of other interests sort of thing in terms of sport and activity and things like that. So yeah, I like to try and keep a sort of nice balance, really. I find if I play sort of once a week, something like that, I tend to then look forward to playing rather than it getting to the stage where it's bowls again tonight and starting to become a bit relentless. So for me, breaks work pretty well, and then it sort of increases my enjoyment when I actually do play.
And obviously the pedigree Eliza's got, I'm amazed that when she came out she didn't have a ball in her hand and took a ball out for a six, to be fair, because she's got some pedigree. She's got two parents who's certainly going to, if she ever decides to take up the sport, I'm sure she's going to be quite handy.
Yeah, possibly. I think she's certainly be encouraged to play sport of all types, that's for sure. So yeah. We were both really lucky when we were younger and had parents who took us to all different types of sport, whether it was football, cricket. I know Nat done a lot of swimming, badminton when she was younger as well. So yeah, we'd certainly encourage us to play sport, mostly for the sort of the social side and the team aspect of it, and what you can learn from that as well. I think it's hugely important.
There'll be more from Jamie later in the show. Now it's time for Richie's Roundup. Cue the music. And that's all from me, folks.
I'm sure I left something out of that roundup.
Right then, on our last show we covered the Leeds position, so I thought we'd drop down the order and go to number 2, mate. The general rule of thumb is you mark the card and you kick the balls back. What do you reckon?
It tends to have been the common perception of a second, and I probably... At club level, I would say it's probably the player who potentially needs a little bit more experience. You tend to find that teams would generally put that player in at 2.
Yeah.
So he's surrounded by a solid lead and a third man and a skip who can give him the experience he possibly needs to start to move up the order.
Do you think it's his job just to fill the head out?
I think second men are key at different levels. I think, like I say, that at that club level, if you have got a good second man, you'll tend to find that you've got a very strong club.
Yeah.
If you haven't, then you like I say, you tend to find that it's that newer starter in there. So you just hope that they do put balls in and around the head for you and just back the lead up. I don't think ordinarily, if he is a newer starter or she is a newer starter, you're going to expect them to potentially outdraw the lead.
No.
So I don't think they're in there to back the lead up, so to speak.
Yeah.
But maybe just to bring them on with a little bit of progression. And then when you start to step up the level and you're getting into county teams, then you're starting to see what the second man's all about. And for me, they are one of the key positions which have been very much neglected in a lot of respect, to be honest with you, because I do think the second man not only has to be able to draw, but needs to be able to learn to draw into potentially positions where you need a bit of cover, or if the lead against him has put 2 right on top and there's not really much chance for him to draw close and do anything about it, then called into action with regards to playing a running ball and changing the head a little bit as well.
I think probably the best example that I've learned is probably Cumbria, mate, wouldn't it? Yeah. Cumbria of the few years ago, where if the heads were lying bad early doors, they just got him on with the second man. Ronnie Gass, exactly.
You know, they'd been up there, they'd been in the back end positions, but then it gradually, as the younger lads, your Stuart Aries, your Gavin Taylors, your Trevor Taylors, etc., Stevie Farish, as they were stepping up through the order, they sort of stepped back down, but were still an integral and key part of the team, because again, they were still classed as, in my opinion, match winners, because if they could create something or generate something out of a bad head early doors to give the better players who have moved up the orders a chance, then that was key to turning heads around and turning matches around.
Do you think the second man, I mean, if it's an experienced second man, he's like a shoulder to cry on for the third?
Can potentially be a cool head as well. I think the third and the skip can sometimes get carried away in the emotion of the match, and you know, they're trying to do so many things, and it's I mean, I've no doubt in future podcasts we'll move on to a third and a skip, but that second man has just got the opportunity where he'd stand back, have a look at what's going on. There's nothing, you know, there's no pressure on him to be putting his ideas in there, but he could also be just having a look and be the one to chip in and say, well, hang on a second, I can appreciate you saying let's have a run at the head. However, if you catch that ball onto that and the jack rolls into here, we're 4 or 5 down. So I think he or she is in that position to be able to identify potential downfalls of shots that are discussed between the 3 and the skip.
I think he can probably, the second man probably see the bigger picture, can't he? Whereas the third and the skips were like, oh, let's get among us.
Yeah, and I always like to see, and I tend to do it a lot myself, is including, I like to include lead and two, but I think primarily I would tend to maybe go and have a chat with me two first and say, you know, what's your thoughts, and then you'd have a chat with your lead, and I think it's really good to get the input of everybody, but then it's getting that happy balance between 3 or 4 different opinions, and the skip or the 3 walking away with 3 or 4 different shots in his head. So a really, really good second man will go in there and he'll say, well, look, this could potentially happen or that could potentially happen, but I would love to see them also turn around and say, look, you've got to walk up there and play the shot that you're comfortable with. And you're right, a good second man is a really good level-headed player, has the knowledge and pedigree, been there, seen it, done it, and can just give that little bit of inspiration to potentially, you wouldn't even think twice about playing a game and then finishing 32-27 or something like that, 59 shots in a game. But as you get older, Jamie was talking about, you tend to look at things a little bit differently, and I don't think it's so much fear creeps in, but you just learn to control the game a little bit better and understand that there is no need to play a shot if it's not necessary, and you tend to go with higher percentage.
I mean, you can see over the years where it's developed, because probably when you first started and I first started, the front two never really got involved, did they?
No.
Sort of like mind your P's and Q's.
Definitely, you were spoken to if asked.
Yeah.
Basically, you played your balls, you put your balls in
Mark
the
your
head,
card.
step back and let the two guys crack on.
The front two used to be ours as well. If they get turned over, the front two used to get the brunt of it, didn't they? You were the first name with the pen through. It didn't pack the heads out.
I was forever chasing. I was leading up from three.
Bloody rubbish. Bloody rubbish, the second man. Kept giving the shot away. tying me hand off. Exactly, mate. Well, I think that's we've covered number 2, mate. Like you say, we'll cover 3 and 4 in a future podcasts. So onwards and upwards, mate. And here is the second part of our interview with Jamie Chestney.
Thinking back to when we first played against each other, quite a while ago now, but I think I was still relatively young at the time, and you had quite a lot of hair. Shows how long it was ago.
I've still got a lot of hair. It might not be on my head.
Yeah, it was. I think with the national triples, myself, Gary Smith, and Jimmy Lambert played you, Merv, and I can't remember who your third man in the triples was at the time.
Neil Malden, it would have been. Yeah.
Obviously, you went on to beat us, and nothing's ever changed there since, because I think I haven't beat you since. So that set us off on a good foot straight away. But when you were saying that you can go away, there's one thing that I spotted straight away with you, which was you just seem to have this natural talent of being able to step onto a ball and green and just play the big balls at the right time. Have you always found that that's been the case from even when you started? Is it just something that you fell into and just found that you took to it naturally?
Yeah, probably more so when I was younger. I think as you get older and the more experience you've got, probably the more sort of anxiety creeps in and you start to worry a bit more about it. But yeah, I certainly remember when I probably started to get some real success around sort of 16, 17, 18. Yeah, nothing used to sort of worry me in the slightest. It was just pick up the bowl and chuck it as close as I can and see what happens. And I think as you get older, you do start to sort of realise what stuff means and probably worry a bit more and probably need to put a bit more practice in. I would say that's something I've been guilty of probably in the last couple of years. I get to top events and I've probably not put the work in. That certainly shows. But like you said, it's probably sort of priorities. Is it one of the sort of main things that I worry about? Probably not enough, but perhaps that'll come back hopefully in the next few years if I can put some more time into it. So yeah, I do remember the game you're talking about. I would have been about rink 6 or rink 7 at Melton when that flying at Stanley's pace. Yeah, I remember it well.
Well, I don't know, with Richie being stat, I don't know whether the Richie will be able to remember this, but I'm sure was that the year, Richie, when I think I'd qualified in the 4, and it was at the time when there was no time limits and got to the 4s final that year, but the semi-final against Andy Kirtland had taken something like 5 1/4 hours. But I'm sure it was around that time when there was no time limits. And obviously, you weren't restricted in anything you could do. Can you remember any of that at all, Richie?
There was the days where spectators just fell asleep watching.
I mean, for me, again, other people have talked about sort of getting on their soapbox here, but on this podcast. But for me, I would turn everything to respots. I would try and speed the game.
Too right, mate.
I would get to 2-bowl triples, get to 3-bowl pairs.
Yeah.
People don't have the time that they probably used to be able to play these games, and they probably want to play more of the format that they actually get to watch online and on the TV as well. It can't be sort of too much bothered to put a couple of respots on each rink and start playing to those rules, and it really starts focusing the mind, and tactically it'll improve a lot of people's games as well. And yeah, I definitely think that it's the way forward.
I've got to agree with you there, Jamie. I certainly wouldn't be adverse. I detest, and I don't know why it is, and I think it's just because there's so many balls packed in there. I detest triples. I just think 9 balls from each player is just crazy, and I just think you end up playing a lot heavier game than what you would normally. I'd love to see triples go down to 2-ball triples. I'd love to see the pairs go down to 3-ball pairs, and like you said, I would love to see personally, from singles point of view, I still don't think 21 up takes that long, so I would like to keep the sort of the history of the 21 up game in place, because I do like that. And I think it doesn't then come down to potentially sets where you could win 14-3 in the first set and lose 5-6 in the second and potentially win the game but lose it. I hate that thought for a national.
Totally agree. Yeah, we've got to stop this is how we've always done it, so we've got to keep doing it like that. So let's bring some new stuff in. And obviously there's a lot more sort of going on in terms of localised tournaments and open singles and things like that. So all of these sorts of things are great for the game, and hopefully will sort of push every organisation on in the future as well. So let's make the game or the product sort of as enjoyable to play and watch as we possibly can.
So, here's a question for the both of you, because you have both played international series. Now, I was up at Stanley and I watched the under-25 series, and they had the respot then. Would you both be in favour of that? I thought the respot was great in the under-25s. Would you both?
No doubt.
They've done it in the indoor series, for the last few years, to be fair.
Have they? All right.
Definitely. I'm not a big fan of the respot on the tee. For me, it should always be out on the side. And the main reason, I know a lot of people say, it takes the skill away from burning ends and starting ends again, but the respots still favour the team who are dominating the game. Once you start dominating heads, you can start dominating the position after that as well. So it still benefits the team who are playing the better bowls in the long run.
Yeah, definitely. And I kind of think of anything worse, and I've said it for a few seasons now. Well, since respots came in, can't think of anything worse from a spectator's point of view, sitting down at national championships watching the fours, and the 15th ball or the 16th ball of an end kills the end, and there's nothing to show for it. I don't see that as being something that can attract an audience. I just think it's just a waste of everybody's time. You're sitting there watching something that ultimately comes to nothing. Whereas if you had the respot, the game continues to be, it's continuous throughout, and you get a result at every end. So I just don't see why that isn't just it should be a norm for me now, indoors and outdoors.
And it gives the spectators another thing that you can actually sort of get into the game a little bit more and start thinking about, well, what would I do in this position? Would I cover that spot or that spot, or would I look to block or put another bowl in this head? And rather than just knowing that someone's just going to try and blast it out of the rink and wait for the bowls to be carried back and start the end again.
Definitely. You are listening to the Wrong Bias podcast. Back to the WBT, where obviously you've made a huge name for yourself on there now as well, Jamie, and obviously is it a bit of a frustration for you that the International Open, which was your first major success on the WBT, seems to be no longer played?
Yeah, the situation at the moment, for the future's not looking great. We want to be able to play in as many events as we possibly can, and probably took me I know a lot of people's views on the top 16 and what it is and etc. But I probably paid 10, 12 years worth qualifiers to get in there. So I feel like I sort of paid my dues to get in there, and now to see the event sort of starting to not go ahead. Yeah, it's disappointing, but hopefully there'll be some good news around the corner, and things could get back up and running again. Had a lot of good years in Norfolk around that sort of time, playing nationals with Merv, and we actually had a sort of one of my good experience start with in terms of team events, the sort of Norfolk Liberty Trophy side around that sort of time. We had about a 5 or 6 year period where we won it 3 or 4 times, and just to break up the sort of Durham stranglehold on it. So we had some good times in Norfolk around then, and sort of a really nice young club and good social times as well.
Just something we were talking about on the last podcast that we did, Jamie, which was we were talking about the Denny at the time, and obviously Exonia have won the Denny again this year, so congratulations on that one. I haven't had a chance to speak to you since then. We talked about, would we class this Exonia team now as being great, and I know you do listen to the podcast, and if you did, you'll have heard my opinion. It was yes, without a doubt. Do you agree with that? Do you feel like that is one of the great teams that has played this sport now?
I think we can get there. Probably wouldn't say it at this stage. So I think the record is probably 3 in a row. So that's probably one of the sort of proudest things I've probably got in the sport is some of the teams I've managed to be a part of. So obviously currently the indoor international side as well. Hopefully we're going for a record next year if selected on the indoor side. So obviously we've now won a couple of Denny's in a row, and we're obviously trying to make it 3 next year. So I think we've got the potential to. But for me, that's sort of one of the sort of legacies I think you can hope to leave in the sport is when people look back at the record books and they think, who was a part of that team who done this? So obviously probably got to they're the sort of achievements I'm really sort of proud to have been a part of, and to have done it with sort of either 9 other mates or 15 or 23 other friends, and memories that everyone's going to share is a really sort of really good achievement.
Yeah, definitely, without a doubt. In my opinion, over the years of when I first started, I've always said that for me, Cumbria have been the Denny Kings, always have been. They've just been, they were unstoppable at a time. I certainly think that, the way things is going, got a strong chance of obviously being able to match what they've done over the last few years.
Our final a couple of years ago, that was the first time I think the majority, if not all of us, had actually managed to win the Denny Cup, the big one certainly for club bowls indoors, and again sort of building relationships with these guys you're playing with all the time as well, and they're your friends as well as your teammates. So if you can go and do something that you'll remember with them, then that's even better.
Absolutely.
Was it Chris who was playing against Rob on the extra end?
Yes, Christophe.
Yeah, I mean,
so
to be
close.
fair, he threw absolutely great bowls. That's one of the frustrating things about our sport, I suppose, is the element of luck that's involved. I mean, he really sort of couldn't have played 2 bowls any better, and things just didn't roll for him.
He still has nightmares about that day, and I said, look, the amount of times we said to him, he just could not have played those balls probably any better than what he played, but obviously just didn't get the result that he needed.
Exactly. I mean, they're not the ones that should sort of give you nightmares. I mean, he couldn't have done any more. So it just happened to be our day that day, and that was it.
So what I'm going to do now is just quickly move on to my 7-up questions, if you're okay.
Yeah, no problem.
Question number 1: favourite green, indoor or outdoors?
Probably would have said Downham ex-Servicemen's Club outdoors. Rink 1 specifically.
Not being too specific though, no. Forehand or backhand or
3/4 legs.
If I could have dug that up and brought it with me to Devon, I would have done.
Man up 5 yards, Jack 4 yards off the end, just down the forehand, but I'm not going to be too specific about it. Yeah, okie dokie. Next question: balls used.
Henselite, Tiger, Evo indoors, Tigers outdoors.
Marvel or DC Comics?
DC, that's Batman, isn't it?
It is DC. Oh my God, gone right down in my estimation there, man. Best match you've ever played in?
Best match I've ever played in, probably for the standard, would be the World Outdoor Pairs semi-final. Me and Shadders against Paul and Alex.
Toughest opponent, either team or individual?
Nick Brett.
He's a one for you. Since you come from Devon area, if you had to play with one of these two in the pairs, would you choose Tulchard or Rideout?
Oh my word. Well, I'd probably have to go Tulchard, to be fair. I couldn't live with Louis if I said him.
It's just to avoid the fallout after, isn't it? Because Sam will just control Louis anyway, so that's... I thought you might choose Sam.
He won't be sort of... he'd be a bit more gracious with it than, shall we say.
Yeah, absolutely. And future ambition in the sport?
Just to probably enjoy what I'm doing. Like I said, we haven't really got any plans at the moment. Long term, we're just gonna see how things go. So yeah, just try and do what we're doing and enjoy playing in what we choose to.
Great stuff.
And there's one extra one, mate. She'll not be listening. She doesn't listen to the podcast. I'm honest. But if you played Natalie in the singles, who would win?
I mean, I'm not getting involved. We have played, shall we say, practice and warm-up matches. I think it was the Atlantic Championships in Cyprus.
Right.
I'm not going to share the results. I think John Bell might have a record of them somewhere, but needless to say, we never played since.
The Tulchard and Rideout question was hard enough, Richie. That was just a body blow, that one. Well, it's been tremendous having you on, Jamie. I know, like I say, we've talked in the past. I know you do listen to the podcast, so I really appreciate that. And thanks for coming on and just giving us a little bit of an understanding of your new role and a little bit of bowls chat as well. There's not a great deal to talk about bowls results, etc., for obvious reasons. So we wanted to keep going. It's been a great chat and a great conversation. So thanks very much for coming on.
No worries. Can I just make one request for the listeners in future podcasts, if possible?
Absolutely.
We'd like Richie to do the full Welsh League results from every division every week. I remember the very first one that I listened to, and when I was hearing them, I was bowled about laughing. I mean, I thought it was absolutely incredible. So we'd like a few more divisions worth of results if we can.
I'll do my best for you, mate. I'll do my best.
I'm trying to find out if there's a league going in Uzbekistan or somewhere like that as well, because I think that would go down a storm as well.
What was it? Who was it?
Leonelli.
Leonelli. Who was the other one?
Izzy Win. Izzy Win.
Let's get busy. Great times. He comes out with some pearls at times, he does. Great stuff, Jamie. Thanks again, mate, and look forward to seeing you soon. All the best to you and Natalie, and like I say, best of luck with the family, and hope to see you on a green soon, mate.
Yeah, cheers, both.
Thanks, Jamie. Cheers, mate. Bye.
Take care. And it's competition time, and once again we'll say thanks to Alex Marshall Sports. The competition this week, we're just going to be playing for a couple of bowls tops. I've got an England top and I've got an Aero ladies top. I will put the pictures on the Facebook page. Which player did Jamie say during his 7-Up questions he would choose to play pairs with? Was it Sam Tolchard or Louis Rideout? So you can answer the question either by putting a comment on the Facebook page, you can drop us an email on wrong.bias@hotmail.com, or you can send us a message or post a comment on Twitter. Right, and there's been on social media, it's just keeping the sport in the limelight. There's been a bit of a questionnaire going around with everybody, so I thought rather than us put our answers on Facebook, I thought it would be quite a nice chance for us to maybe just give our answers on this podcast, mate. I think you've got the questions.
Yeah, I've got the questions, mate. Here we go. Right, best player you've played with? I've went for former England international Jimmy Lambert.
Yeah, well, I think we both went for the same. I don't think we can go against our interview in Bowls International magazine. We both said the same, so
yeah,
we'll
exactly.
stick with that one.
Best you've played against?
Again, I think I've got to go back to my 7-Up questions from a previous show, and that would have to be Mr. Tolchard, Sam.
Yeah, well, I've possibly might have changed mine because I've gone for a youthful Cumbria Stuart Airy. Did he play with them? Was it Vitalites or Tyrolites or something in his early days?
Tyrolites, I think he had.
He was fantastic, and he was a smashing lad and all. He still is. He's never aged either, mate. He's never aged.
He has. Well, the only thing I'll has aged is he's lost that grip big ginger mop that he used to have when he was a young boy. But Stewie's one of my great friends in the game, and I definitely hope Stewie will come onto the show.
Yeah, we'll get him on. We'll have to get a translator on though. Right. All-time greatest player.
In my era, I think Alex Marshall's got to be.
Yeah, well, I was toying with Bryant, Willie Wood, Peter Bellis, but for me, it's probably Tony Alcock, the retiring Tony Alcock now. Most accurate drive.
Most accurate drive for me, being a bit of a menace over the years, I'm gonna pipe for Andy Kirtland outdoors.
Well, I'm going for the bearded wonder, the leg end from Horton Dairy Lane, Mr. Kenneth Briscoe. Quickest drive?
Quickly going back to that one about Mr. Briscoe, I've got to tell you this little quick story. Kenny played against me down at what is Rotor Park in a competition. And my current girlfriend at the time was sitting next to Paul Baker's girlfriend at the time.
Yeah.
And Kenny hit a fire, and it was one of those that he cleaned it, bounced off the back of the ball, and the two girls must have been literally sitting about 18 inches, 2 foot apart, the heads, and the jack flew head level straight through the middle of the two of them. And I dread to think, I always remember with that, I always think if that had gone 18 inches either side, it would have been horrific. Absolutely horrific.
Yeah. I'm sure he's also cracked somebody's ball in half.
I wouldn't surprise me.
I
think he's calmed quite a lot now, hasn't he?
He doesn't do it now. He doesn't fire now. You can't get him. He's got a bad, dodgy back.
Aye.
I think he's under order from Jane, the missus.
Sorry to digress there, but I just thought I'd drop that one in.
Right, quickest drive?
Quickest drive, definitely. It's got to be Andy Walters for me. Phenomenal. What he did to me last year was just ridiculous.
Yes, well, I've gone for his sheer brute force, your club mate at Silksworth, Paul Baker. Because when he lets it go, mate, everybody runs for cover.
Well, I don't, because I just stand right behind the jack because he never ever hits anything. You could give him a 16-inch spade and aim it at a cow's backside and he still wouldn't hit it. And he knows I'm only joking, but no, I'm not.
Most reliable draw bowler?
You know, it is, I've seen a lot of these questionnaires. Everybody seems to have gone in-house and in the local area. I'm going to go for a lad who, under 25s over in Jersey, and I'm not joking, I would definitely say it's the best leading performance I've ever been a part of. He was leading for me in the pairs, and I actually walked off feeling quite dejected because he played that well, and I think we ended up getting nicked in the game, and I was skipping, so I obviously didn't do that good a job. But Mike Bolty from Nottingham area or Derbyshire area, absolutely phenomenal back in under 25 days. Still a good bowler now, but definitely up there with the best league performance I've ever seen.
Well, I've gone for Gary R. Smith from Sunderland.
Looking across quite a few of them, Gary's been right up there. That's why I wanted to be a little bit diverse, a little bit different. And
best singles player you've seen?
Best singles player for me, good friend as well. I would say Jamie Walker's right up there. I think he's got the potential to win everything that's in front of him if he's got the ambition to do so.
Yeah, well, I've gone back to when I was a kid, and he coached us indoors. He'd done a coaching thing, and it was Danny Bell.
Danny, I remember Danny well.
Yeah, nicest competitor?
Nicest competitor, nicest lad in the sport for me. One of the nicest. There's so many of them, but I'm gonna plump for Taylor Monk on this one. I always wind him up all the time about beating him in the National Fours semi-final when he was playing with Andy Thompson, and he always takes it on the chin, but he should do because he's about 6 foot.
Yay! And I've gone for Horton Dairy. I've kept it in house again. Horton Dairy Lane's Keith Makepeace, absolute gent on the green, mate, absolute gent, and features in many black and white pitches in the Durham County team. Not saying he's old. Best teammate?
Best teammate, one of the lads who I played with for a lot of years. I'll plump with Mr. Keith Avery on this one.
Right, well, I've gone for Billy Ferry from Sunderland because I was going through a rough time, and I led for him, and he actually re-energised us, and I've never thanked him enough.
Great stuff.
And the funniest character?
Oh, without a doubt for me, it's got to be Mr. Rideout, Louis Rideout.
Well, there's not many characters knocking around the Sunderland area, but young Jackson McKenna always puts a smile on my face.
Definitely.
And most competitive?
For me, it's got to be me best bud, Mr. Farquhar.
Gary's not too competitive.
I've seen many toys, many dummies spat across the green, balls kicked, ditches lifted, people planted.
Many a bankside sat on.
He is the best player in the world when he's winning. Didn't get on the wrong side of him. He's great. He's ultra competitive.
Well, mine's a chap from the first club that I ever played at, Barnes West End, and he's called Ronnie Coulthard. He used to be a teacher at the same school as us. He took one lesson with us for 2 hours. He never spoke to us. That night, I asked leading for him. Never spoke to us. He was a strict mate at school, I tell you. We had him frightened, mate. Had me frightened leading in.
They were always the best teachers, though, the ones you were frightened of, I always say.
Anyway, before we close, as you know, I write for the Sunderland Echo, a little bit for the Bowls Report, and I did an article this weekend on the Durham County Middleton Cup win in 2000, the only time that they ever won it, and it was all good memories, getting a load of good feedback and what have you. Even the old bar bill story was unearthed, mate, which the truth has been unveiled. Mrs. Marples can stand down. Foster, we know who it is now.
Yes, I'll let you just update on obviously what you the sad news that you are going to update on before we go back to that one, because I think it's definitely worth a mention.
It's funny how things work out, because after following the report, we got the sad news that our county president then, Charlie McCain, sadly passed away. He was a bowls man, he enjoyed the game, and to see the smile on his face when he lifted the trophy is something that I'll probably not forget.
Definitely not.
But it was a cracking weekend, and sad that he's passed away. So
it is really, really sad, and I agree. I remember the smile on his face, and a couple of things I remember. There was, Cliffy Simpson was in tears. Cliffy'd been there, done it, top bowler, and first time, it was first time in the history of Durham.
That's right.
We'd managed to win that Middleton Cup, and I wouldn't be out of turn by saying it came completely out of the blue, really, didn't it?
Oh, without a doubt, we weren't. I mean, as I said in the article, we weren't the best team by a long chalk, but we got on a roll, and the momentum, we just ran away with it. Just absolutely, really was cracking. I mean, the Kingston upon Thames, was it the Kingston upon Hull game where yourselves didn't turn up for 20 minutes, delayed in traffic.
Yeah. It was a very, very funny funny situation as well, because if I remember rightly, was I old enough to have been driving at that point, or was I?
I don't think you were allowed a map, mate. It doesn't matter what they say. You weren't even allowed to read a map. You were that young.
Beverley Road comes to mind, and it was definitely something. And I just, if I remember rightly, I just presumed that the Beverley Road would be the road that goes to Beverley. Yeah. Which didn't appear to be the case.
Yeah.
And then obviously once we'd worked out that getting about 25 minutes away from the start of the game, that we were nowhere near, and going in completely the wrong direction. We then just happened to hit every single bit of traffic on the way back there as well. So I've got to make belated, it's a long time, but belated apologies to Derbyshire, wasn't it?
It was, yeah.
I don't want to pin blame at anybody, but it was me. I was taking us in completely the wrong direction.
Well, I knew you were in trouble, mate, because we were getting phone calls and we were 20 minutes ahead of you. and we'd only just hit the traffic at York.
Well, I still to this day blame Keith Avery and Paul Baker for not putting us right. I was only a young boy at the time. I must have only been about 18 or something, so I'll blame them.
By the photo, mate. By the photo, you look about 16, mate. I don't know what it was.
Well, I might have been. I've always looked young with these dashing young looks. Yeah.
Well, that's it. That's another show, mate. Number 12 gone.
It's
a little bit different, but we thought it was good to get something out there. It might take some editing down this one because it was only going to be a short one, mate.
It was. Great chat with Jamie, though.
Yeah, without a doubt.
It was always nice to catch up with him. And for me, all I'd just like to say is, obviously, everybody who's out there is involved in the sport. I don't think it's going to happen anytime quickly, but let's keep these things appearing on social media. Let's keep everybody within the bowls community thinking about bowls and looking forward to getting back to it.
Yeah.
And from a professional point of view, I would just love to say to all the clubs out there, just use this time instead of just sitting and waiting for things to happen. Potentially look at what you can do within your own clubs, so that once we're given the green light and we'll get back on the green, that you can hit the ball running and get some open days. Get things in place where we can try and get people into the sport. Because as we talked about with Jamie, there's a huge opportunity where there's going to be a lot of people who have been stuck in the house with nothing to do, and are going to be, without a doubt, looking for activities to do.
Kids, tigers when they come out, mate, aren't they?
Oh, without a doubt. I mean, if this is not a time for our sport to now promote, get out in the fresh air, get out and try bowls, then it never will be.
That's right. And going back to Jamie's membership thing, people's got nothing to do. Get on and do it. Fill the membership database in.
Definitely help your committees. Yeah. Members, get in touch with your committees. If you're sitting there and saying, I'm bored, I've got nothing to do, get in touch with your committees and just say, can I give you an hour or two's help?
That's right.
Is there anything I can help with, which might be a bit of a mundane job, but it'll kill a couple of hours?
Yeah.
So I definitely stress that as well.
Yeah. And there was one thing that we probably haven't promoted that we forgot: Bowls England's new YouTube channel that they're going to produce. Which I think it's Sean possibly might be doing it.
Yeah, they're going to have quite a few things on there, I think. Fitness and a podcast on there, which is great. Obviously following in Bowls Scotland's footsteps, so that the governing body for England has now got a podcast in place, which is great for people to find out all the up-to-date news for them. And I think Ellen was
Faulkner's done one.
Question and answers and things like that. So it can only be good. I'm sure I saw this morning that David Corkill's going to be doing a bit of a talking as well and things like that. So all good for the sport.
Without a doubt,
just shows, we're moving into a technology era now, and we've got to use it to its best purpose and get the most out of it as what we can. So all good.
Exactly right.
Wish them the best of luck with that.
Yeah, here. Well, that's it, mate. Number 12 over. Oh dear me. Number 13 next, mate. Oh, someone's got to go on Pete Tongue on it.
Unlucky 13, yeah.
Unlucky 13.
Let's hope it's not.
No, exactly, mate. Right, it's been a pleasure, mate. Thank you.
Yep, take care,
Thanks,
everybody.
folks.
That's the main thing. Take care.
Yeah, cheers.
Thank you for listening and hope you've enjoyed the show.
This has been a Dodgy production.